Hello and welcome to Rule of Three's video review for The Order 1886 from Ready at Dawn, PS4 exclusive third-person shooter. So this is the first big AAA title for the PlayStation 4 of the year, at least exclusive. The other exclusive I can think of off the top of my head is Infamous too. So this is like really only the second. Oh, I guess Little Big Planet 3 was out too, but this is really the second, in my opinion, really big PlayStation 4 game to come out. And Ready at Dawn has built something that has a lot of potential, but the game itself just fails to capitalize on a lot of its ideas. The story of the Order is you play as Sir Galahad, one of the members of the Order of the Knights of the Round Table, and it's basically his job is to, with the other Knights of the Round Tables, to go around and kill half-breeds of werewolves and any other supernatural thing that they come across. Throughout, you find out about conspiracies and other things, and that's pretty much it without going into spoilers. There's a couple of other major characters. The other big one in this one's Izzy. And yeah, so in terms of story, let me get this off. The Order has a really, really good idea for its story and lore. The alternate history, the characters, and stuff like that is really, really interesting. The problem is the game itself just doesn't seem to realize that and try to capitalize on it. It does at the beginning, but about a third of the way through, it just stops trying to impress. So like I said, this game's alternate highlight actually has to deal with King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table and the Holy Grail. I don't want to get into too much spoiler, but I'll just say Blackwater is basically the Holy Grail water, which is why they're able to live for centuries and so on. But the overall arc is, like I said, the beginning of the game is great. It sets up all these mysteries and kind of things and, possible conspiracies going on. And then it plateaus around chapter 10 and 11, in my opinion. And it just starts falling flat. And then the last three or four chapters are very, very anticlimactic and don't resolve really anything. And this game seems to be just a prequel to, the game that they're actually working on, in my opinion. Length has nothing to do with the story. I mean, I beat the game in 8 hours time, but the problem is nothing really happened. Like, a bunch of stuff was set up, but nothing really finished, and it just feels like the story is incomplete. And if that was just to get people interested in a sequel, well, not a great thing to do with a new IP, especially in a 5-hour game, where they could have easily, had the story wrapped up instead of just add more and more layers of mystery and not resolve anything. And that's my biggest gripe against the Order story, is just that it doesn't capitalize on its uniqueness and coolness and wrap things up. And, maybe, a sequel is possible, leave it slightly open, but the way they did this is just, completely open, it didn't finish anything. Character-wise, Galahad in the main cast is great. The presentation of this game is great. It's just they don't capitalize on anything, and it really is a kind of a big letdown because, like I said, lore and character-wise, this game has a huge potential and had huge potential, and if they do a second one, it has, a good base to go off of in terms of what they've built with the lore. But they need to capitalize on it, and they just didn't in this one.
We seized the ship in the name of liberty.
Percival, the cockpit is secured. Lafayette will remain at the helm. What is your status?
Gameplay for the Order is, once again, a lot of good ideas, terrible execution. It's a third-person cover-based shooter. The problem with this is the cover system's not that great. It doesn't have, Gears I still think has, the best cover system to stick into walls and things. I can't remember another cover game. There's one that in recent times that had a decent cover system, but it doesn't have the greatest cover system. It's, mediocre, and it's really hard to get in and out. Gunplay wise, the guns are fun. My favorite one's what's called the thermite launcher, which you spray a bunch of thermite around and then you shoot a flare into it and everything catches on fire that's in that mist. It's a really fun gun. The arc shooter, which is that lightning bolt gun they keep shooting off, is really cool. There's a mine gun, and a lot of the guns in this game are really cool. The problem with it is they don't give you these guns for long periods of time. You're mostly going to be stuck with your basic pistols and machine guns that are not super special when they could have easily capitalized on some of these guns' uniqueness. And the problem I think they had was the unique guns are really overpowered. And they could have tuned that a little better so you could use these guns a little more. Like instead of the lightning gun being a one-hit KO and same with the flamethrower, just make it so that they catch fire and are dazed for a while. They don't die instantly, but they're dazed. But the gun, like I said, the guns are cool, but they just don't use them enough and showcase them enough. In terms of like actual shooting, I think the camera's a little too close, in my opinion, for this kind of shooter. But that's a minor issue, and I got over it. The cool thing about the shooting aspect is there's also a mode called Black Water Mode, which is kind of the bullet time mechanic. If you've seen one of the trailers had it, where he slows things down and he just starts, aiming at different people and shooting. That mode is really cool, and it's really fun to do. I really enjoyed it, and it's nice that you only have so much time you can be in it, and it's limited in when you can use it. It was a nice mechanic, and I really enjoyed that mode. The other thing I want to talk about is collectibles. Throughout the map, there's collectibles. There's little sand cans that you can find that have like little dialogues that fill in kind of more of the world. And then there's just items that you can examine: newspapers, documents, pictures. And my biggest gripe with the collectibles is they don't add anything. And that's not good. Like, it doesn't even track what the collectibles are. Like, you'd find a document and Galahad would maybe say like a line about like what's on it, but the writing is in really small lettering and cursive, so it's really hard to read, so you can't get the full idea of what some of these collectibles mean or are. And if they would have just had a little blurb, because they kind of expect you to know the history in 1886 for some of these items, I feel, and I didn't. So, I mean, if it would have picked up, put in your inventory, and then you could pull out like an archive page, like most games have, it would have been great. But no, it doesn't do that. It doesn't record the collectibles, so if you don't get those achievements, if you care about that, you're going to have to play the whole game again and try to find them all again because you don't know which ones you missed. Which is a big letdown. And once again, it could have added so much more to the lore of this game, and some of these items probably did. Some of the collectibles in like Tesla's workshop were great. There are great little things that I understood because it had writing, and I just kind of got it because I know the whole Tesla Edison thing going on at this time frame. But they don't add anything new. Other than that, I mean, stealth. There's stealth in this game. It's not the greatest. The werewolf fights, I think, were very anticlimactic, especially the little knife fights you would have with them. Shooting them is normal, but you didn't see them enough. It was mostly human elements that you saw in a couple of areas where you did have to deal with werewolves. But like the one-on-one is pretty much just spam a button and dodge. Those fights could have been so cool and kind of had like maybe a rock paper scissors kind of aspect to them or something along that line instead of just spam dodge. And it really lost its kick. And once again, it's a good idea. They just did it wrong, or could have done it better anyway. And like I said, that sums up the Order's gameplay. A lot of good ideas just implemented to kind of a mediocre level.
Fuck the army. This is my fight.
The Order 1886 is by no means a bad game. However, it's also not a good game. It is a mediocre game. It is a game that you don't need to play, in my opinion. If you don't want to, if you're not interested in this alternate timeline thing, you're not going to be missing much. However, I do think it has potential in sequels and other games. Like I said, the lore in this game is really good. And the first, third of this, well, maybe almost half of the game is really good. Story-wise, the characters in this game are really good. This atmosphere and game, like looks of the game, are really good. But the gameplay mechanics, the ending stuff, and just weaponry and just how they dealt with a lot of the stuff just falls a little flatter than one would hope. I'm giving the Order 1886 a rent verdict. So there you have it. Like I said, the Order is it's not a bad game, it's not a good game, it's mediocre, but it worked. That's another positive. This game worked. So that's it for this review. Next week will be Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse, but before that review, I might be putting out a Kirby Rainbow Curse review out. So keep an eye out for that, but I guarantee next Saturday will be Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse. Check out rule3.com for all our news postings and stuff. Like us on Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching this on. If you're on the YouTube channel, if you're on the website, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe so you get all the latest videos, including the retro review series and soon to be Let's Plays. Hopefully by the end of March, those will be finally going. Well, not the retro; those are always every other Friday, which will be posted next Friday since I got this out on time. And Sunday is our podcast, so give a listen to our Trifecta Gaming News podcast, where we go over the news of the week and do some commentary on some of the stuff. And that's it. So until next time, always remember to trust in the rule of 3.